Hi everybody, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Tobacco record, Ultima 2 Massage. This is the third full-length solo effort from multi-instrumentalist and Black Moth Super Rainbow frontman Tobacco, aka Tom Feck. Now, under the name Tobacco, Tom has consistently put out material that doesn't sound too unlike what he already does in Black Moth Super Rainbow. A band whose music is pretty idiosyncratic and unique, but personally I find the compositional component of their songs to be a little shallow at times. That can depend on which Black Moth Super Rainbow album you're listening to, and if you're at all bothered by a really simple melodic approach. But Black Moth Super Rainbow's sound still is undeniably unique. I know a Black Moth Super Rainbow song when I'm hearing it. I know when I'm hearing their very trademark specific brand of electronically tinged psychedelic pop, fronted with all these whisper quiet vocoder vocals and basic drum machine rhythms that are fed through this really distorted, lo-fi, fuzzy production style, along with keyboards, guitars, some bass. It's really dirty, it's grimy, it's trippy, purposefully aged. I think Black Moth Super Rainbow takes a lot of production cues away from musical projects like Boards of Canada, but I think they take that influence and do something much more fun and playful with it. Now, like I said, a lot of these same qualities that are in Black Moth Super Rainbow's music, they carry over into Tobacco. But there are some pretty strong differences. For one, especially with the debut Tobacco record, there's an overtly strong instrumental hip-hop vibe on this record. However, that has been fading away since Tobacco first came out with that debut record, and here on this new album it seems like it's completely dissipated. I think Ultima 2 Massage is the most experimental, abrasive, noisy as hell thing that Tobacco, Tom Feck, even in Black Moth Super Rainbow, has put out thus far. The typically fuzzy production you find on Tom's projects is much more destructive on this record. Some of the instrumentation on this thing literally disintegrates into distortion and just vanishes for little tiny spare seconds of time. Some tracks on here, like Blow Your Heart, come through with these really bombastic beats. And there are a handful of songs on here that are very chilly and apocalyptic and depressing in tone as well. And some of the more upbeat tracks on this thing are sonically dense, either because of all the effects laid into these sounds or because Tom is just layering more synthesizer into these tracks, whether it be chords just droning in the background or arpeggios or really bright melodic leads. It's like every song here is a little tiny psychedelic pill which you take, and each comes with its own trip. Some are nightmarish and horrifying and unsettling. Others are very fun and sweet, or calming and blissful. It's like I'm being transported to a different world where everything that I assumed and thought I understood sonically is just flipped on its head. Everything's melting, everything's neon colored and sugar coated. Not only does Tobacco do a better job of bringing sonic diversity onto this LP, but I think he digs for more interesting sounds as well. I get that sensation right from the start of this LP with the song Streaker, which has these unsettling screams, these broken cymbals, this very spacey, sort of off-kilter beat that feels like it has a very loose grip of the tempo. There are these sluggish synth sequences playing throughout the song that are very woozy, and then to top it all off, this vocoder vocal that is just so guttural and low and deep and monstrous, I feel like I'm listening to a satanic transformer try to sing me a song. I've never heard Tobacco this twisted. He is just abusing sound on this record, and it's beautiful. It's just enjoyably warped. And there are other songs on here that fit that description as well, like with the song Face Breakout, which has these very offbeat drums, these lead vocals that don't really feel like they're on the tempo either and are just whispering out, 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 out. But these really loose verses are matched with a beautiful, tight, and just lush instrumental chorus that has all these synth layers in it that are so blissful, they're so glassy, so I just want to lick them. And then there's Omen Classic, another incredibly warped track on this LP where the vocals are just swallowed in what seems like maybe a low pass filter, but there's a lot of over-modulated bass on this track as well, so the song just feels really thick and just reverberating. And then there's the song Blow Your Heart, which feels like this fuzzy, just distorted, aggressive robot punk song, like I'm listening to the world, as it were, if our robot overlords came down and destroyed the human race, but somehow in the process got into our drug stash and became addicted to psychedelics. And this is what they'd be doing all day, just making music like this. And these abrasive, strange, hard-hitting moments are not only great, but they make the sweeter, more serene spots on this record really stand out because they bring a good counterpoint to it. Like the song Creaming for Beginners, which feels like a mind-altering lullaby. Then there's 13 Pool City McKnight Road and Father Sister Berserker, two of the more compositionally ambitious tracks on this LP. I think these are the two most impressively put together Tobacco songs, not only in just the entire record here, but in Tobacco's entire discography, Black Moth Super Rainbow including that too. The song Father Sister is also matched with this grand, sweeping melody that plays throughout some parts of the track that reminds me a little bit of Frank Zappa's Peaches and Regalia. Now there are some downsides to this LP, in my opinion. For one, it just feels like a mixed bag of tracks. A lot of these songs are very short, they're kind of brief. Like I said, they're short, colorful, strange trips. But it is still a very good collection of these very short, strange trips. There are some tracks on here that have a lyrical component like Eruption, which is completely asinine. And then there is a song or two on here, like the second track on here, which do run a little redundant and mundane. But still, having said all that, I still think this is one of the more creative records I've come across this year. One of the more sonically engaging and interesting records I've heard this year. Just so overwhelmingly colorful and noisy and fun. Some fun beats, some fun melodies on this thing. I just love the textures. Bravo to Tobacco. I'm feeling a decent to strong 8 on this thing. Transition, if you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that is it, my friends. My needle drops. Anthony Fantano, Tobacco Smacko forever.